First thing I'm going to do is part my leave out. I want a middle part for this wig, so I'm going to do a middle part leave out. I usually like to leave out a little less hair than this, but I'm just going with the flow, so I'm just going to do my leave out, and I try to section it between the start of my eyebrows. So one side of my leave out is at the start of one eyebrow, and the other, so it's like in the middle of my eyebrows, as you can see right here. After I get my leave out section, I'm going to section off my edges on each side of my head, and I'm going to plait those up and get them out the way so I can start braiding my base to the back of my head. These braids are much flatter than straight backs. So right here, I'm going to braid kind of like slanted going towards the back instead of going straight down the sides like I usually do. Braiding your hair back is definitely an arm workout, so I had to take a quick little break. So now I'm just going to finish the last braid on the side I already started, and then I'm going to switch to the other side and do the exact same thing. And make sure you're not using up all the space at the nape of your head when parting these braids, because I wasn't even paying attention and I barely had any space to go all the way down to finish all my braids across my head, as you can see. And first of all, what is this? Because I wasn't even sweating. This got to be a stain or something. Repeat all the steps on this side, and now we're going to make the wig. So here is the cap I'm using. I'm just using a regular weaving cap from the beauty supply store. Personally, I like this cap because it has the two adjustable elastics in the back, and it really helps with adjusting my cap size. So right now I'm just putting the cap on my head to measure where I want to start sewing at. And I'm making sure I do not sew where I left my edges out at. I'm only going to start where the braids start. So as you can see right here, I'm going to start on that black little line. I guess that's where the two fabric pieces overlap and they sewed it together. It's a good measuring point. So I will not be sewing on the tabs that I'm pulling. As you can see me pulling this tab out, I will not sew on that. Only on that black piece right there. And here are the adjustable tabs that you can just pull to tighten the cap to your head. Before we start, I'm going to freeze the video so that you can get everything you need to make your wig. Next, I'm going to grab some T-pins, and I use these to stretch my wig cap a little bit and to hold it into place so it won't shrink while I'm sewing. And you can do exactly as you see me doing, just stretch it down a little bit, unless you have a smaller head and your cap fits for this dome head. Now I'm going to start sewing above the band at the back and also above the elastic piece. I do not sew on the elastic at all because I want it to be functional and actually adjust. If you sew through the elastic, it's probably not going to adjust. So make sure you're sewing above that band piece and above the elastic. So your track should be over the elastic. So for my stitching, what I do is I go through the weft. Well, not through the weft. I go under the weft and through the cap. And then I create a loop. I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain this to y'all, but once I create that loop, I go through the loop. And then before I go on to the next stitch, I go back behind that stitch and create another stitch so it can stay into place. That is how I do my stitches. I really hope you can just get it from the video because it's going to be hard for me to explain. I might do a separate video with just showing you how I stitch. If you want to see that, comment below and let me know. Okay, so here's a different view of the elastic band and the flap back there. I'm going to go over it. As you can see, I'm not going to sew on it. I'm going to go over on the top of it. Here's another view of the elastic and sewing. I'm going to go through the actual knit, but not the elastic. And I'm going to sew my weft on top of the elastic. As you can see, I'm pulling a piece of the knit that covers the elastic. You can sew through that, but don't go through the elastic. Just go through the knit fabric. This is also a better view of how I stitch my weft. As you can see, I created a loop, which allows me to put my needle through, and I just hold the end piece of the string, the thread, and keep going until I get to another stitch. Here's a better view of me sewing through the mesh fabric that lays on top of the elastic and not going through the elastic. I'm picking up the fabric with the needle and continuing to stitch until it's time for me to fold over and go back the opposite direction. And right here, when I'm about to flip and fold over my weft, I do reinforce it with going back behind each stitch and creating another stitch, as you can see me doing. I just make sure this area is really reinforced because I am going to flip over and eventually start sewing the other direction. I am going to take my weft up a little bit, like in the U shape. As you can see, I'm not going to just go straight across. I'm going to go curve it up a little into the U shape so that it can lay how I want it to lay. And once I flip the track over, I'm going to reinforce it some more before I start to sew as usual. Now, y'all, don't be like me and forget to mark out your leave out on the wig cap. So now I have to take it off, and I'm about to use some pressing powder with a little makeup brush, and I'm just going to mark around my leave out so that I won't sew in that area. That's what I'm going to cut out so I can cover my tracks with my hair. So you can use like a crayon, a white crayon, some foundation. They actually have a piece of chalk that you use exactly for these. I'll link it below. But yes, please, whatever you do, don't sew over that area. Now I'm going to put the wig cap back on my dome head, and I'm just going to clean it up again. I'm going to go back over the lines, the outline, and just clean it up. Then I'm going to continue sewing. And I'm actually using these T-pins to hold the track in place. And I'm just going to continue sewing around in a U shape. And then it's going to end up eventually going around my leave out area that I sectioned off. And you just keep doing this until you get all the way around. Now, it's going to look funny because the cap looks like it's going down the face of the head, but it's not. It's going to fit your head perfectly. So next up is another view of me stitching the tracks. I'm going to slow it down so you can actually see what I'm doing. When it's time to start a new needle, I just start right where my last stitch was with my new needle. So I go in and I probably secure it down about 2 to 3 times, and then I continue stitching as normal. Once secured in place, you just cut your old needle out and continue to sew as normal. Continue sewing as normal, and once you get to the front, don't go past the black band that I showed you earlier in the beginning. And also, once you fold your tracks over, if you see a space where you can see the neck through the track, just adjust them and sew them closer together. I also want to add that once I got past the first 3 rows in the back, I started sewing my tracks as a single weft and not doubling them up. So that may be why you can see through them at the top a little bit. But once you put the wig on your head, you won't see through it at all. And I'm just going to continue to lay in the direction I want to sew with the T-pins so the tracks can stay in place and it can be easier for me to sew. Now we're almost done sewing. As you can see, this is my last piece of weft. And it's not going to reach all the way around, but I do have another piece that is going to seal it off perfectly. So you just continue to sew, and I'm right there on the line where my leave out is. And the next piece is going to go on the other side, right on the leave out line, and it's all going to fit perfectly. And then I'll be done with the sewing. So this is the finished result of my wig. I wish I would have recorded this as soon as I put it on because my hair looked so much better. Now I can just tuck my hair behind my ear. And of course, you know, I left my edges out around here. So you can just pull some hair out if you like. Right now, I didn't even flat iron my hair right. I got in the shower and didn't, you know, protect my hair. So it's not looking the best. But this is the finished result. I absolutely love this hair. I've had it for like 7 years. And if you have any questions or any tips, comment below. Also, since you made it this far in the video, I am going to pick names to email you and give you a giveaway from my boutique. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can come in and have a chance to win every single week. Every single week, I'm going to be giving away something from my boutique. So make sure you're following me and like this video. Leave a comment. Bye. So now you've learned how to make your Upart wig, but we need to know how to put it on and make it look natural. So make sure you're following and subscribe to my channel because next week I'm going to show you how to put that thing on and make it look natural like it's coming out of your scalp. Okay?